all beneath the waves. I arrived at the cliffside lighthouse on a mist-shrouded evening, the sea below crushing like distant thunder. A bone-chill wind whipped salt spray across the old stone, carrying a faint resonance I couldn't name. I've come seeking solitude and a way to escape the world for a few nights. But almost instantly, I sensed that this place held something deeper, something watching.
At first light, I met Mala, the caretaker, tall, pale, with eyes too steady for comfort. She spoke little, her voice soft but precise. "I'll hear them soon," she said. "The whispers from the sea."
I frowned. "The sea speaks?"
She nodded, tilting her head toward the horizon. "They come before the tremors and the earth listened."
Curiosity pricked. Marla's tone was calm, yet something trembled beneath. A nameless unease crept through me. That afternoon, I went down to the rocky beach at low tide. The shoreline lay exposed to dark, wet stones gleaming in pale sun. I heard an odd pattern of clicks and whistles drifting from offshore. Not natural. Rhythmic musical almost, but alien. I scanned the horizon and saw their pale forms, a pod of beluga white shapes gliding just beyond the surf. They circled in deliberate arcs, their skin glowing faintly. They sang or seemed to be singing. A chill settled in my bones. These were no ordinary whales. Their movements felt purposeful, as if luring me into something.
Later, at supper, Mala produced an old radio and tuned static. She whispered. They whistle before the deep trembles.
I shivered. News had been quiet until now. I recalled seeing a viral video of belugas in Kamchatka behaving strangely before an earthquake hit. Was this similar? But here, there had been no recorded quake yet. Night fell heavy and silent. I lay in the narrow lighthouse room above the lantern. Outside, the CS clicks echoed through the walls. I felt a low hum under the floorboards. I tried to sleep, but at 2:13 a.m. the glass dome rattled. The hum intensified like a choir of whale calls resonating inside stone. I bolted upright, my heart thundering. Then silence. Then a voice.
A whisper, breathy and distant. "Listen."
My skin prickled. I stared into the darkness, but saw nothing. Seconds stretched. Then another voice, closer. A year. Panic flared. I jumped from bed, light flooding the room, but still no source. I backed into a corner as the hum returned, now more urgent.
Marla's voice in the corridor. It has begun.
I rushed toward her, breath ragged. She held an oil lamp, flickering shadows across her face, serene, resolute.
They have come, she said quietly. They came long before we heard them.
I stared at her, confused, fearful. What are they?
Her eyes glinted in lamplight. The guardians or messengers, you'll learn soon.
In that moment, a deep thud resonated through the floor, a vibration like distant thunder. The lantern flame jumped, shadows danced. Then, crashing through the window, the sea spilled upward, a rise of water against glass, though tide was still hours away. The light flicked out. In darkness, I heard it again. 3 distinct whistles echoing through stone in silence. I froze. And then Marla's quiet voice, inches from my ear. They call you. They call you. The words echoed in my mind, reverberating through my bones like the tide surging beneath the stone. I turned to Marla, but her face was unreadable. Calm. Still. As if whatever this was had happened before. Who are they? I asked. But even as I said it, I knew the question was wrong. The better question was, what are they?
Marla didn't answer. She turned, walking down the spiral stairwell toward the base of the lighthouse. Her lamp bobbed gently, casting fractured light across the walls. Without thinking, I followed.
We descended into the lower chamber, a place she hadn't shown me before. It smelled of salt and soot, the air damp and heavy. The walls here were different. Older. Etched with symbols. Waves. Spirals. Eyes. The same markings I had seen on the smooth stone she gave me. In the center of the chamber stood a basin, an ancient bowl carved directly into the rock floor. It was filled with seawater, yet there were no pipes, no connection to the outside. And the water shimmered with a strange light, pulsing gently like breath.
This is where they speak, Marla whispered. She knelt by the basin, placing her hand above it without touching the surface. The light beneath her fingers responded, glowing brighter.
I crouched beside her, heart pounding. I could hear it again, those same 3 whistles. Clear. Rising. Almost melodic. Then, a voice from the basin. But not Marla's. Not mine. Something older.
He carries it. The memory. It returns.
My breath caught. The light from the basin flared, reflecting in my eyes like sun on black water. Visions flashed behind my eyelids. A storm. A shipwreck. A boy in the waves. Nay, it was me. Marla watched silently. She knew. She'd always known. I nearly drowned, I whispered. When I was 9, off the northern coast. I could see it now clearer than memory should allow. The cold. The pull of the tide. The moment the world fell away, and something pulled me back.
You remarked, Marla said softly. Chosen, not to die but to return. To carry their voice.
I stumbled to my feet trembling. No, this is insane. This is. But I stopped. Because I could still hear them, even with my hands over my ears.
Return. Return. Return.
The stone in my pocket pulsed, almost burning. Outside, I heard a sound I'll never forget. A deep, wet, dragging noise. Like something heavy pulling itself across the rocks.
Marla's voice was barely audible now. They are climbing the cliff. She stood slowly, her lamp flickering wildly. Her eyes didn't blink. Her breath was shallow. They have never done that before.
I turned toward the narrow stairwell just as the door above groaned. Footsteps. Slippery. Uneven. Coming down. And then, a voice. A man's voice.
Hello, Adrian.
I froze. That voice. I knew it. Impossible. But I knew it. I turned. And standing in the stairwell was my father. Dead for over 20 years. Wet. Silent. I didn't move. Couldn't he? He stood there, my father, his outline flickering like a faulty projection. Salt crusted his clothes. His boots dripped seawater. His skin looked raw, bloated, stretched too tightly over the bone. Yet the voice was unmistakable, deep, measured, the way he used to call me in for dinner. Adrian, come inside, the tide S rising. My throat tightened. I whispered, Dad?
He stepped forward. The wet squelch of his boots against the stone echoed like a heartbeat. His smile didn't change, but his eyes, they were completely black. No whites. Just depth. Depth like the ocean trench.
It dawned to let him speak again, Marla hissed. He is only the shape of your memory. He is not what you lost, he is what waits.
I backed away, my shoulder hitting the damp stone wall. The figure kept advancing. Water pulled around his feet, trailing with him like shadow.
You've heard them, he said. The song, the whispers, the memory. He raised one hand blue, swollen, fingers wet with dark strands of something like kelp.
I couldn't breathe. Not from fear, but from recognition. Because something in me responded. Something old. Buried. Like a melody you forgot you knew, yet can hum all the same.
It is the calling, Marla whispered. Some never survive it. Others answer.
The man thing in my father's form stopped just short of the basin. The water glowed brighter now. Pale blue turning to deep green. It pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat.
You drowned, Adrian. That day, you died. We brought you back. But not all of you returned.
A high-pitched tone filled the room like feedback, but wet. Slippery. Organic. I fell to my knees. Head pounding. Visions crashed against me. Dark tunnels in the deep. Whispers in inhuman tongues. The outline of an impossible city on the ocean floor. Calling. Always calling.
Marla knelt beside me, her voice trembling. Adrian, you have to fight it. You have a choice. They return for their own, for what is theirs. She pressed something into my palm. The stone. It pulsed once. Then again. Stronger.
My father's voice had changed. Less human now. Deeper. Resonant. Like the ocean itself had learned to speak.
We are rising, Adrian, and your anchor must descend.
And then he stepped directly into the basin. His body sank into it impossibly, like slipping through a veil of water. No splash. No ripple. Just gone. The basin emptied in an instant, revealing a hole. A narrow shaft of stone, carved straight down, and from below, the sound of singing.
Marla's voice trembled. They've opened the passage. They've never done that while someone was still alive.
I crawled closer to the edge, staring down into impossible depth, and saw lights, flickering like stars underwater, moving, twisting. Then, a hand, tail, then, reached up from the void. Not his, not human, and it was reaching for me. I didn't know whether to scream or reach for it. That hand long, narrow, fingers bending in ways fingers shouldn't just hover there, waiting, patient, Hungry.
Step back, Adrian, Marla shouted. Her voice snapped me out of my trance. She gripped my shoulder with shaking hands. You don't want to see where that leads.
I stumbled away from the edge. The hand slowly sank back into the blackness, like a spider folding into its burrow. The stone led no mechanism, no sound began to slide back into place, sealing the shaft with a soft click of ancient obedience. When the last trace of light disappeared, I realized I was shaking. My clothes were soaked, not from water, but from sweat. Marla looked at me like I was a puzzle she almost regretted solving. You were always theirs, she whispered. I just hoped they'd forgotten. I stared at her, voice hoarse. What the hell is going on? What are they? What am I?
She sat against the wall, pulling a folded cloth from her coat. Inside was a brittle photograph, faded from salt and time. This lighthouse was once part of a listening station. During the war. Not for submarines. They were for signals that didn't fit any spectrum. They called it whale song in the reports, but the patterns were too structured. Too directed. She handed me the photo.
It showed a younger version of her, standing with 3 others. One was my father. Another I recognized only from old newspaper clippings. Dr. Janice Holloway, a fringe marine biologist who vanished in the 90s.
We called ourselves the Salation Project. Funded by no one, sanctioned by nothing. We listened to the deep, and the deeper listened back.
My mind reeled. They were communicating with us.
Not us. She stared at me. With you. You were a child when the tides changed. The station picked up something it had never heard before, a name. She swallowed. Your name.
A cold spike of pressure ran down my spine. No, she had to be wrong. This was madness. You were saying they've been calling me since I was a kid? For what? Why?
Marla's eyes darkened. We thought it was a mistake, but your drowning proved otherwise. They took part of you then, left a vessel behind, a tether. They've been waiting for you to mature. To become ready.
Ready for what? My voice was a whisper now. Marla stood. The wind howled through the crack in the window like an answer.
To descend. To return what never should be surfaced.
Thunder rolled over the ocean like a warning. And from somewhere in the distance, deep and faint, the sound of the song again. But this time, it wasn't just underwater. It was inside my head. And it was getting louder. I didn't sleep that night. Not truly. Not after hearing the song inside me. It pulsed, low and mournful, like a forgotten lullaby hummed by something with no mouth. I sat at the edge of the rusted bed in the lighthouse as upper quarters, staring at the black ocean. It looked calmer now. Too calm. Almost expectant. Marla had gone quiet after her revelation. She wouldn't answer my questions anymore. She just muttered to herself old phrases, half in Latin, half in some language I didn't recognize. At one point, I asked her again what they were. What waited beneath. She'd only said,
Not gods, not demons, they were first. Bolder than salt. Bolder than the sea.
I laughed then. Ditto. Holla. Because somehow, part of me believed her. Around 3 a.m., something changed. The lighthouse beacon dead since I arrived. Lit up. Its beam cut across the waves in slow, deliberate rotations. But it didn't light the sea. It lit something else. Ships and not boats. Not debris. Move across the water. Fall. Then, unfolding. As if standing up from the seabed. The silhouettes were wrong. They bent backward. Some had too many limbs. Others not enough. I pressed my face to the glass. They weren't walking. They were gliding. And all of them, every last one, were heading for the shore. Marla appeared behind me. She looked pale. Even more than usual.
They know you're awake now, she whispered. They've begun the return.
Return to what? I hissed. She didn't answer. Instead, she opened a rusted cabinet in the floor. Inside, a long bundle wrapped in sailcloth and sealed with wax markings. She undid it carefully, as if afraid it might bite. Inside was a harpoon. No, not a weapon. A relic. Etched with symbols that seemed to squirm when looked at too long. Its tip was black stone, not metal. Volcanic. Chop. Hungry.
This was pulled from one of them decades ago. The last time they rose. It didn't kill it. But it made them pause. And now you LL need it more than I ever did.
She pressed it into my hands. It hummed. Or maybe that was just the song again. It was hard to tell where the humming ended and I began. Suddenly the radio crackled. White noise. Then a voice. Distorted. Faint. And unmistakably my father S.
Adrian, come down. You've been asleep too long. They're waiting. We're all waiting.
I dropped the harpoon. It hit the floor with a low thud, but didn't roll. It just stayed, as if it belonged there. I backed away from the radio, from Mala, from the lighthouse itself. And yet, some part of me stepped forward, drawn, unwilling, but unable to resist, because whatever had called me had finally arrived. I don't remember going down the stairs. One moment I was in the upper chamber, heart pounding. The next, I stood barefoot on the cold stone floor of the lighthouse space. My breath fogged in the air. It wasn't cold. It was warm. The door was open, blown inward. Sea mist curled through the threshold like fingers, thick and pulsing. The air smelled of rot, and something else. Copper, old blood. Outside, the sea glowed. Not with moonlight. No, this was deeper. Sickly green, like bioluminescence pulsing from a dying creature. Ships moved at the water's edge. I knew somehow. They weren't just rising from the sea. They were coming home, and I was the one who'd opened the door. The harpoon was in my hand again. I didn't remember picking it up. It pulsed now, in sync with my heartbeat. Or maybe instead of it. I turned and found Marla standing at the top of the stairs. She looked ancient, tired, not afraid. Resigned.
Do you hear them? She asked softly. They've been singing since the first stone was laid here. Since before. Every keeper hears them. Not all survive it.
What are they? I shouted, desperate. Why me?
You were marked the day your father answered their call. And now, his debt has become yours.
Her voice, it wasn't just sorrow. It was finality. And the worst part? I understood. The song grew louder. It came from every direction, but mostly from below. The lighthouse vibrated like a tuning fork. Stone and glass sang in harmony with whatever was beneath the waves. And then the floor split, cracked open like an egg. Black water surged up through the stone, impossibly deep. From it, a hand emerged. Long, pale, webbed, clawed. I stumbled back, raised a harpoon. I didn't know what to aim at. The hand, the water, the thing below that sang with my father's voice.
Adrian, the voice came again. Clearer now. More human. More him. You were the key. You always were. Come see what I became.
The hand gripped the edge of the floor and something began pulling itself up. I screamed. I don't remember what I said. Maybe it wasn't words at all. Maybe it was just the sound of my mind snapping. Marla didn't move. Didn't flinch. She just said it.
If you strike it down, you take its place. If you let it rise, it takes you. There is no third option.
Behind me, more shapes gathered at the cliff's edge. Tall and thin and moving like sentinels. Watching. Waiting. And beneath me, my father was smiling. The thing that wore my father's face, it was almost fully immersed now. Its eyes shimmered like oil, reflecting every flicker of the lighthouse's dying beam. And its smile, not human, too wide, too knowing. What are you? I croaked. Are you him?
I am what he became, the thing rasped. What you will become, if you accept.
The harpoon shook in my grip. Its metal glowed faintly now like it wanted to be used. Or maybe it was warning me. Above us, the lighthouse beam flickered erratically, strobing like a dying eye. I could hear the foghorn wailing, except there was no fog, and it wasn't just a horn anymore. It was a chorus, though malevolent, almost inviting. Behind me, Marla descended the steps slowly, her eyes never leaving the figure that now crouched at the edge of the chasm. Her expression had changed. No longer solemn, now mournful.
You still have a choice, she whispered. but only one. Use the harpoon and take its burden, or drop it and let him drag you down.
The harpoon pulsed harder, its weight unbearable like it carried the gravity of generations. I looked into the creature's face. It looked back, and it waited. I screamed a raw, terroring sound that came from the deepest part of me, and I thrust the harpoon forward, straight into its chest. The creature did not scream. It sighed, like a man stepping into warm water. Its body shimmered then cracked like porcelain. Black light spilled out, and with it, so did I. Then, 8. Memories that were anti-mine flooded my head. Shipwrecks, storms, drownings, 1,000 tragedies all seen through the lighthouse SI. I felt the harpoon melt into my hand. My skin burned, flesh peeled, my bones sang. I screamed again, but the sound echoed not through my mouth, but through the walls themselves. The shapes outside bowed as one. To me,
Marla fell to her knees. Tears streamed down her face. She whispered a name not mine, a title, Watcher of the Wound, Singer below the flame, Breaker of the seal.
the sea beyond boiled. The water wasn't tea water anymore. It was alive. And I could feel its thoughts. They were hungry and patient. I stumbled backward, the world swimming. Then everything went dark. No, not dark. Just a deeper. Somewhere far above, I heard Marla scream, or maybe laugh, and the sea sang me to sleep. I woke in darkness. Not the kind behind your eyelids, but one that breathes, moves, watches. My body felt wrong. Too light, too still. Like I was suspended and not floating, but hung. Around me, faint lights pulsed in the dark. Bioluminescent veins trailing along the walls like capillaries in some massive, buried beast. A heartbeat thrummed, not mine. Slower, deeper. I wasn't he in the lighthouse anymore. I wasn't he anywhere on Earth.
You were chosen. Marla's voice. But it came from everywhere inside my skull, in my lungs, beneath my skin. The lineage demands continuity. The harpoon doesn't kill. It passes the flame.
I tried to speak, but no air moved. Only thought. And with it, a terrible realization. The voices. The visions. They were anti-madness. They were a signal. And I had tuned in. In front of me, a shape began to form, woven from darkness, and yet more real than anything I'd know. An eye. Not round. Not human. It opened sideways like a sea creature-ess. And it blinked with a sound, like thunder through water. It spoke without language. An emotion. A command. It wandered out. Memories surged again, not just shipwrecks now, but the lives of those who drowned. Their regrets. Their secrets. Their deals. And all of them had heard. The call. I wasn't he the first, but I might be the last.
Adrian, a voice from the surface. Impossible. If you can hear me, answer.
It was Caleb, my brother. I hadn't heard his voice since he disappeared near St. Bridget's Cove 10 years ago. But it was him. The eye recoiled. Uncertainty. A fracture in its dominion. I focused, forcing my will through the black syrup of this other place. I saw the lighthouse again, distant now, but glowing. I saw the harpoon in the rock still humming. A tether. And I pulled. With everything I had. With every memory of my father. Of my brother. Of who I had been before. The eye screamed or something like it. Sound that bent like cracked bone. I didn't care. I pulled. The darkness tore. And I fell upward, spinning through time, sea, salt, flame, until I hit the stone floor of the lighthouse, coughing up seawater. The beam above me still turned. The foghorn still cried. But Marla was gone. And the harpoon was glowing white hot. I was back. But something had followed. The lighthouse felt wrong. Too still. Too quiet. Even the foghorn, once constant, was silent now. I staggered to my feet, water sloshing around my boots. The stone beneath me was slick but warm, pulsing, like something beneath had begun to breathe. Outside the window, the ocean was gone, not drained but replaced. A vast black plain stretched endlessly, glittering with flecks of light as though stars had sunk beneath the horizon. I wasn't alone. A figure stood at the base of the spiral staircase. Not Marla. Not my brother. Someone older.
UV opened the gate. His voice was papery but filled with a calm certainty. Do you know what you've done?
I shook my head. Words wouldn't he come. The man stepped closer, his eyes were completely black. Not empty. Full. Of movement. Of tides.
We watched, he said. We waited. We fitted stories. Sacrifices. Anchors to your kind. But no one ever returned. Until now.
I backed away, heart pounding. Who are you? He smiled as if amused.
The first keeper, he whispered. The one who dropped the harpoon into the deep. It was never meant to return.
The harpoon, still embedded in the floor, now vibrated violently. Light bled from its seams, casting long, twitching shadows against the walls. The man reached for it, and as he did his hand split, like a jellyfish, tendrils and nerves and something other. I lunged forward and kicked the harpoon. It cracked. The light changed, no longer golden, but violet. The man recoiled, shrieking in a language I felt in my spine.
You fool. UV severed the boundary.
The sky outside the lighthouse, if you could call it that, began to ripple, like water over shattered glass. Then something vast, something immense moved behind it. The harpoon dislodged from the stone and floated midair. It pointed not toward the man, but toward me.
Aideen,
Marla's voice. Soft. Pleading.
you must choose. Anchor it or become it.
I looked down, my skin was changing. Darkening. Webbing between my fingers. A low hum filled my chest, sinking with the pulse of the harpoon. Behind the keeper, the spiral stairs began to collapse. Stone crumbling like sand. Reality fraying.
It is too late, he rasped. Hear its voice now.
And then from somewhere outside, I heard a bell. Not a fob bell. Something older. Calling. Insistent. And for the first time since I arrived, I felt fear. Not for myself, but for whoever was ringing it. The bell tolled again. Deep. Resonant. Older than the sea itself. Each chime tugged at something inside me. Memories not mine. Images flooded shorelines, drowned cities, a sky turned black with wings. The keeper stared at her, clutching his ears.
They were not supposed to interfere. He writhed as if the sound split him open. They allow ban this world to cauterize the wound.
Marla stepped through the crumbling wall, her form flickering like broken film. Her eyes white, shining, otherworldly.
There is one way out, she said. But you want to like it.
I could barely speak. My throat ached, voice stretched by the thing inside me. What are you? I croaked.
Your echo, she whispered. The part of you that refused to forget.
She raised her hand toward the harpoon. It hovered trembling between us.
You can anchor it to yourself or send it back. But know this one pass seals the breach. The other opens the door forever.
Outside, the sky cracked open. Light not light poured through. Shapes too vast to comprehend loomed above. Watching. My hands moved on their own. I grasped the harpoon. It burned. Not heat, memory. All those who touched it. All who vanished. All who heard the call. I screamed and drove it downward into the heart of the lighthouse floor. The stone exploded in light. Time warp spiraling inward. Everything reversed. Then shattered. I awoke on the sand. Waves lapping gently at my feet. The lighthouse stood tall and intact. Silent. Still. As if nothing had happened. Except there were no stars in the sky. Just a smooth black sheet. The sea was gone. No boats. No gulls. No sound. I looked down at my hands. Still human. But my reflection in a time pool was not. It stared back with eyes like obsidian pearls. A ripple moved behind the glassy surface and grinned. Behind me, from the base of the lighthouse, the bell began to ring again. Once. Twice. 3 times. Each chime deeper than the last. Each one closer. Then, from beneath the waves that were no longer waves, a voice.
Keeper, it is your turn now.
And I understood. I had not closed the gate. I was the gate.